I go out to the car and I turn the car on, but I don't adjust anything. And I press the pedal, I press the accelerator, and the car lunges. And in my panic and fear, I go to press the brake. But what do? I press the accelerator again. And we just lunge forward at a speed that takes me into the garage and through the garage wall into the family room. And it's as if there is this explosion. And my sister who's upstairs eating breakfast, she comes downstairs and she's bewildered and she looks at me and she says, "Oh my God, Dad's gonna kill ya."
Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here today on True Thought. It's my pleasure and honor to be your host today. I'm Brother T, one of the co-founders of True Thought. The other co-founder is my beautiful wife, Rev René. She's going to be your inspirational speaker today. I would invite you also, if you find value, click the like button. If you would help us out, that'll help the YouTube system to share this with more people to get this message of truth. Also, you can find us online at truethought.org. You can find us on our Facebook page at One True Thought. And also, we do appreciate if you'd like to join our email list. You'll get invitations to the intimate gatherings we have online with Zoom sessions where we get together and we discuss the principles of True Thought. We're so glad that you're here today. Before we begin, I'm going to ask you to join me and take a good deep breath right now, and let's just join together in a moment of silence. As we come together, I'm so very grateful for this time with you and that you're spending this time with our community, and we truly are blessed because of your presence. And now, without further ado, I'd like to introduce my beautiful wife, Rev René, for her inspirational message today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for the introduction and the centering prayer, Brother T. And hello and welcome to you. I'm Rev René, so very grateful that you're here with us today at True Thought Spiritual Community. And we've already shared with you that our goal here is about awakening. That's why we're here. And the message today is about awakening to you. And the reminder that awakening is merely remembrance. It's the remembrance of our divine identity. And we tend to think that awakening is off in the future or even after this life. And what I'm here to say today is that awakening is now. And it's each and every moment that we just remember ourselves, our true selves, our divine identity, our oneness with God, with Spirit, with all that is. And so that's what awakening is, and that is our goal here. And today's message, I will discuss the pathway that actually activates our awakening and the quality that you possess, that we each possess already, that activates and accelerates that process. And so let's begin right now, just taking a breath, and let's dive in. So here's the deal. I remember who I am. I remember in this moment that I am speaking forth from the awakened self, from that aspect that's already awakened, and I'm speaking to the awakened aspect in you. I know who you are. I know who you are as spirit, as unlimited, as free, well beyond body and form, that eternal aspect that is infinite and free is who you are. I know what we each are and what you are. And what you are is the Christ, is the principle of that oneness, is the activity of the expression of the thought of God in form. You are that extension. That is what you are. And that is that divine seed of perfection that is within you now. And I know how you serve. I know how I serve. I know how you serve. I know how we serve. We're each a divine channel for the extension and expression of love. And that's what we're here to remember. And each moment that we remember it is our awakening. And we can do that right now. Now, we talked about over the last couple of weeks this idea that awakening is remembrance, and it's hard to remember something when you're asleep. And so we've talked and shared stories about how we begin in the beginning, which is home, which is heaven. And that in this experience that we're having right now, that we have fallen asleep. And that's why we talk about awakening. And that in this sleep mode, we're living in a dream where certain laws and ways of being human take over, and we confuse our identity with form. And so there are so many stories about the journey of awakening, the hero's journey. And we've talked the last couple of weeks about the prodigal son. And if you remember that story, in the prodigal son, it's when the son, the child of the father-mother presence, when the child asks the father for his inheritance because he has the desire to go off on his own, to separate out from home and from source or from his father and take that inheritance and go out and have an adventure. And on this particular adventure, he finds himself suffering and in pain and experiencing lack. In the story, he is actually hungry, and he's hungry after having done his job of feeding the swine, the pigs, and he's willing to eat their leftovers. And in that moment, he remembers home. In that moment, he comes to himself with a thought that, gosh, maybe I can go back home, and I wouldn't be fit any longer to be called the son of my father, but I'm going to go in that direction anyway. And maybe I can just be a servant in his home, in his household. And so he turns to go home. And in that holy instant, the father meets him and tells him to rise and tells him that he is worthy, and can't even hear any conversation about, oh, I'm going to come as a servant. No, you are my son. You are my beloved. You are my child. You must come home with me now. And we will celebrate your return home. Now that's that story in a nutshell. And what I want to do is invite you to think of your story of separation, your story of having forgotten your divine nature, your divine worthiness. And I'm going to help with that by sharing a story that I have. So I actually have a prodigal daughter story. And in my prodigal daughter story, I'm about 15 or 16 years old. I'm living at home at my mom and dad's house. I'm the youngest of four girls. And at age 15 or 16, my parents go to leave the house. And on their way out, my father says, honey, my car's in the driveway. Would you please pull it into the garage for me? And I'm excited. I don't have my license yet, but I'm really excited that my dad asked me to do that. And he's got this great silver Seville that he just loves. It's a pretty car, and he loves this car. And so I get to pull his car into the garage. And so it's in the morning. I think I'm still in my PJs, and I go out to the car and I turn the car on, but I don't adjust anything. And I press the pedal, I press the accelerator, and the car lunges. And in my panic and fear, I go to press the brake. But what do? I press the accelerator again. And I we just lunge forward at a speed that takes me into the garage and through the garage wall into the family room. And it's as if there is this explosion. And my sister who's upstairs eating breakfast, she comes downstairs and she's bewildered and she looks at me and she says, "Oh my God, Dad's gonna kill you. Dad's gonna kill you. Dad's gonna kill you." And I'm thinking, I'm still sitting in the car and the engine's still running. And I'm thinking, you know what? She's right. Dad's gonna kill me. I better get the heck out of here before he comes back home. I get out of the car, I go and get something on, and then I decide I'm going to run away from home because I have to save my own life. Because when he gets back, he's going to kill me. And so I go off into the woods and I have an adventure for the whole day long. But it starts to get cold and I start to get hungry and the sun begins to set and it's beginning to get dark out. And I start to think, you know what? I think I better go back home. And I couldn't muster up the courage to go all the way home, but I made it to the next door neighbor's house and I went inside their house and I warmed up. And as I did that, I could hear something coming from my house, and it was my mother. My mother was on the back porch, and she's yelling out into the woods. She's calling, "Claudia, Claudia, come home. Come home, it's okay. Dad's okay. Come on home." My mother was calling me home. So I mustered up the courage and I walked the 25 yards from my neighbor's house to my mom and dad's house. And I go in through the basement and I look at the damage that was created by my mistake. And I'm like, oh boy, I was so scared. And I walk into the house and my dad's at the very top of these stairs. And I look up at him and he's looking down at me. And he opens his arms and we meet one another and he hugs me. And he says, "I'm not even going to ask how you did that. I don't even want to know. It's okay. I'm just so glad that you're home." And so it took courage to come home. It also took courage to run away from home. It took courage to think, okay, I'm going to take matters into my own hands and I'm going to go on this adventure. And then it takes courage to decide to also come home. There is a call that is going out, that is broadcast continuously for each of us. And just like my mom was calling my name, calling me in a way that I recognized, so too is each of us being called home by the very name that we recognize, and that name is love. It is of the heart, and our heart recognizes it. It's the heart that calls us home. It's the heart that calls us on our pathway home. And we each have the quality of courage in order to answer that call, even though we don't know what it might mean, but we have that courage embedded within us to answer that call and return home. Now, when we return home, when we answer that call, when we hear that call and we become willing to answer that call, that quality of courage stays with us. It takes courage to look at what we've made. It took courage to look at the mess that I made. And in innocence and love, to see what I have created, to acknowledge what I have created, and to be okay with it. Okay, I created this, I made this, but there's something within me that can choose again and create again. Courage is the strength that it takes for us to carry on, even when we've looked at the mess that we've made, even when we feel fearful to come home, even when we're in pain or suffering. It's the courage that gives us the strength to carry on, to come home, and to answer that call, even when we're fearful. Now, I would suggest that we've made a little bit of mess of things here and there. I know I have in my life, and collectively we have in our world. And we've come to this place together where we've decided that there are principles that are worthy of our attention, are worthy of our commitment. Now, we call them true thought principles here, and that these true thought principles, that it actually takes courage to realize that, oh my goodness, I am spirit, that's my divine identity, and as such, I'm kind of filled with some power, and that in that powerfulness, that I'm creative, and that the thoughts that I think are actually things, and that they go out in the world and they create form, they create effects, and that those events, those effects are neutral. The rubble in our family room was neutral. We were the ones that gave it meaning. It isn't what we would have preferred, but in and of itself, it was neutral. And the thoughts that created it were powerful, that led to it. And so where in your life can you muster up the courage to look at that for yourself? You see, our principles call us to courageously go home to our divine identity, and to remember that our best thinking, our very best thinking, has not always worked out so well. So maybe it's time to go home to the thoughts of God. We also think that the quality of courage that we have, or it's also called bravery, that the opposite of it is cowardice. But I would suggest that it's really not. The opposite of this courage or this bravery that it takes to stand in our divine authority and assess what's happening. The opposite of that is actually what we have also done, which is conformity. So the opposite of this courage is conformity. And conformity stifles our creativity. It suffocates the elixir and the oxygen that it takes, that feeds our creativity. That when we are in conformity, we're not being true to our divine self and our divine identity. And so also, as we decide to return home, that we can look at all of this, and where am I being in conformity? Where am I not being true to myself? Where am I agreeing where I actually disagree? Or where am I trying to make something happen instead of allowing it to be just as it is? That this conformity kills our ability to be creative. And I would suggest that now is the time in our human evolution and our spiritual evolution for creativity, for the creativity and the courage to court the divine ideas that will meet the needs that we see out in the world. It's also been said that courage is the absence of fear, but it really isn't the absence of fear per se, but rather it's the judgment that something bigger than the fear that we may experience, that there's something bigger that's more valuable that's calling us home. We often look at transformation as the butterfly. And how does one become the butterfly? How does one transform? And we know that it occurs when a caterpillar is willing to cease to exist and has the desire to fly more than it has the desire to continue being a caterpillar. And so for each of us, it takes courage to answer the call home, to answer that call home, which is the heart, and the courage to know that there's something bigger than what we've thought we were in this experience. And it is the grandeur of you as a beloved and holy child of God, connected with Source, all abundant. It takes courage to, when you're not feeling that yet, when you're not feeling the promise of home, you're not feeling the promise of your divine identity, because you're still the caterpillar, you're still looking to the personality, you're still looking to form, you're still looking to identification with conditions in the world, you're still looking to conform and please others. And what will I be if I follow my heart and have the courage to know that there's something more and that I can indeed fly? The whole word courage is truly about heart. If you look at the word itself, the origins of the word, it is about heart. That C-O-R actually means heart. And in its earliest form meant to speak one's mind. And so here we are at this juncture, my friends, my beloved spiritual community, where we've stated that our goal is awakening, our goal is coming home to ourselves, and that we each have a call, and that, sometimes it takes courage to muster up the call, or to answer the call, and to look and observe what we've made, where we are, and with innocence to know that we created it all. Nobody did it to us. But inherent in that there is no blame, inherent in that there is freedom, because we can transform and shift and awaken. The heart of freedom is greater than any conformity, than any safety that we might think we need. The desire to stand in integrity and for justice is greater than caring for our own personal bodily comfort. The heartfelt desire to be yourself, the awakened self, the awakened heart, is calling us. And in that call, it's reminding us that the self that we believed ourselves to be was so small, and that there's something greater and grander for each of us. It takes courage to follow the heart. It takes courage to do this. And guess what? You've got it. It's in you. You've proven it. If there's anything I can say about humanity is, gosh darn it, are we ever courageous? Because we keep trying. We keep at it. We keep picking ourselves up. And that there is a desire within us, something that knows that it doesn't need to be this hard or this difficult. It takes courage just to decide with all your heart to come home. the heart, the heart, gosh, it feels everything. And I know a lot of us have avoided feeling things, but the heart, it feels everything. It feels it all. It embraces it all. It trusts it all, ultimately, because it knows it's bigger, and it allows all things from that trust. When I decided to go home, man, I felt everything. I felt everything, the fear, the anxiety, and the desire that was greater to return home. I embraced that I created a mess, but I embraced it with love and innocence. And I had a faith and a trust that I would be met with benevolence and that I could allow the chips to fall where they may. Our heart is big enough to feel all things, to embrace all things. It is able to trust all things and allow all things, because it is that desire and that heart and that courageousness that connects us home, that brings us home, that is the pathway, that is if my mother calling my name, something's calling your name, and it is your heart. And you have the courage to follow that call home. And when you do, as you do, you awaken to the magnificent self that you are. Welcome home, my friend. Welcome home. Welcome home right now. And so take a breath with me. The heart is the pathway, and courage is the quality that you already possess to help you to walk that pathway home. Let the heart call you home. And what I do is, in this moment, I invite you over the next week as your spiritual practice to sit with the heart, sit with your heart's desire. Don't go to the intellect. The intellect is going to give you conditioned responses to what you think you desire. Practice the holy instant. Turn within. Pause. Place your heart's desire in the hands of the all that is. And so what I do is I take this scent, and this scent I got, and it actually says courage on it. And I take this and I anoint myself. And I invite you to do the same, breathing, joining in spirit in God. And I open my mind, my divine mind, not the intellect. The intellect is surrendered to spirit, but I open my mind to the heart of love, to God's call home. I open my vision to this way home, the heart that calls me home. I open my voice to the way home and my heart. And in closing, it's just this reminder that it is the heart that calls you home. It is the courage, the quality that you already have right within you that helps you, assists you to overcome any fears and to walk in the direction of love, to follow the heart home, and to be willing to feel it all, embrace it all, trust it all, and allow it all. So go forth this day, this week, contemplating your heart's desire. Ask, Holy Spirit, what is the truth about your heart's desire? And in that moment, follow that call and trust and know that you are home and all is well. And so it is. And so we celebrate you. Amen. Amen.
I invite you to join me now in saying thank you, Rev René, for such a beautiful, beautiful message. It was just very inspiring. You've touched my heart, as you always do. But these True Thought principles bring an energy and bring a vibration that is absolutely recognizable. And you have a gift, and thank you so much for sharing it with us today. I also want to say thank you for being present with us today as mighty companions and as part of the True Thought spiritual community. Your presence is an absolute blessing to everyone in this community because we hold this energy together. And it's very, very important. It's very, very important to the world. Also, I want to say that I want to invite you now to participate in one of our True Thought principles. It's called giving and receiving are one. In other words, we cannot receive what we're not willing to give. It's the immutable law of love. It really can't change up on you, and it's literally the way things work. We can never receive what we're not willing to give. And so with that said, if you'd like to make a contribution to our spiritual community today, it'll help us to share this word with more people. If you find value, you can make a contribution and you can help us support this community to get this word out to more people. We know that more people are coming, but our contributions, your contributions, absolutely help us to expedite that, to raise this vibration for other people as we reach out across the world. So we're really blessed by your presence, and we're certainly blessed by your willingness to support this community and this ministry. So God bless you for that. What's next? I want to say that Inside the Message is one of my most favorite things to do with my wife. We literally sit down and we have a discussion, a conversation, a casual conversation nonetheless, about the message that you've just heard. Every week, our inspirational message is followed by a video that we call Inside the Message. And we have a lot of fun. We really unpack some of the nuances of the teachings. In addition to that, right after we do that, we offer you the opportunity to join us for a live interactive Zoom session on Zoom, right? You can sign up for that. If you'd like to be part of our inner circle, that's how you can get a link to that Zoom session. And just go to our website, truththought.org, and there you'll find a place for you to sign up for our email list, the Inner Circle. So just join the Inner Circle, and then you'll start getting emails and notifications about our Zoom sessions, other gatherings that we're doing, other meetups that we're doing. We may be doing one locally where you are in the not too distant future. So certainly we'd like you to participate in that by just simply joining our email list. You can also find us on Facebook. Please like and share every chance you get. That also helps us to spread the word that this ministry is here to bring. And God bless you for supporting us and your presence. Again, thank you so much. It's been my honor to be your host today. I just want to say, let's join together now for another brief moment of silence. Let's take another good deep breath. Thank you, Spirit, for being with us today throughout this inspirational message. Thank you for being with us in this energy of love. Thank you for being present for us to be able to connect and join you in union and relationship. We are truly blessed by this teaching. We are truly blessed by these True Thought principles. And we are blessed by being in the presence of this spiritual community, joined as one in mind for the purpose of love. Well, God bless you all. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic week, and we'll return soon. Bye-bye.